The stars beyond the viewport looked the same as they always did, but Captain Daywan knew something was wrong. He had been flying between human colonies and alien worlds for 15 years, and his gut never lied to him. Today, it screamed danger. His ship, the Silent Horizon, drifted quietly near the Coalition's massive space station. Around him, vessels from hundreds of different species came and went like bees around a hive. The station was beautiful, all gleaming metal and soft lights, a symbol of the peace that had lasted for 2 centuries. But Daywan couldn't shake the feeling that peace was just another word for prison. "Captain, you have a message from Ambassador Hana," his communication officer said. "She wants to see you immediately." Daywan nodded and headed to the docking port. The ambassador rarely called him unless something serious was happening. As he walked through the station's corridors, he passed aliens of every shape and size. Some walked on 2 legs, others on 4 or 6. Some breathed oxygen, others required special suits. The Coalition prided itself on unity and diversity, but Daywan had noticed something over the years. Humans were always watched more carefully than others. Ambassador Hana waited in her office, a small room decorated with earth paintings and furniture. She looked tired, her eyes carrying the weight of too many diplomatic battles. Next to her sat Dr. Yuna, a scientist who studied alien biology, and Tae Yang, one of the best ship engineers humanity had ever produced. "Close the door," Hana said quietly. Daywan did as instructed and sat down. The silence in the room felt heavy. "I need to show you something," Hana continued. "But first, you must promise never to speak of this outside this room without my permission." "I promise," Daywan said. Hana pulled up a holographic display. Documents filled the air, thousands of them, all marked with Coalition security codes. "For the past 6 months, I've been collecting evidence, information that the Coalition never wanted us to see." Tae Yang leaned forward. "I helped her access the files. The Coalition's security is good, but I've been building ships for them for a decade. I know their systems." "What did you find?" Daywan asked. Dr. Yuna answered. "They've been limiting us, deliberately, for 200 years. She pulled up a specific document. It was a report from the Coalition Council dated 50 years ago. Daywan read it carefully, and with each word, his anger grew. The document detailed humanity's concerning rapid advancement. It noted how humans had gone from primitive rockets to Coalition-level technology in just decades, while other species took centuries. It discussed humanity's unpredictable creativity and dangerous adaptability. The conclusion was clear. Humans needed to be controlled. "There's more," Hana said, pulling up another file. "Every time we've requested permission to explore beyond Coalition borders, they've denied it. Every time we've tried to build larger military ships, they've blocked us. Every time our scientists develop something new, the Coalition demands we share it immediately while withholding their own research." "They're afraid of us," Tae Yang said simply. "Terrified," Dr. Yuna corrected. "I've read their biological assessments of humanity. They think we're too aggressive, too innovative, too willing to take risks. They believe if we're given freedom, we'll destabilize the entire galaxy." Daywan stood and walked to the window. Outside, he could see Earth in the distance, a blue jewel in the darkness, his home. A world that had known war and suffering but had also reached for the stars with determination no other species could match. "What happens if they find out we know?" he asked. "They already suspect," Hana said. 3 days ago, I confronted the Council. I demanded answers about our restricted status. They told me that humanity would remain under protective partnership indefinitely. Those were their exact words. "Protective partnership," Daywan repeated bitterly. "A cage by any other name. The Council claims it's for galactic stability," Hana continued. They say humanity needs more time to mature, to learn patience, to become less dangerous. But I've seen the secret projections. They plan to keep us restricted for at least another 1,000 years. Tae-Yang slammed his fist on the table. 1,000 years. We'll stagnate. Our spirit will die. Humans weren't meant to sit still. Dr. Yuna pulled up another document. It gets worse. They've been studying our psychology, looking for ways to make us more passive. There are proposals to introduce certain chemicals into our food supply, to fund entertainment that discourages ambition, to restructure our education systems. They want to change what we are, Daewon said quietly. Yes, Hana confirmed. They want to turn humans into something safer, something that won't challenge the established order. The room fell silent. Daewon looked at each of them. He saw the same determination in their eyes that he felt in his heart. What does Earth say? He asked. Hana smiled for the first time. I sent all this evidence back home 2 weeks ago through secure channels. The President and the Assembly have been meeting in secret. They asked me to gather a team of people I trust absolutely, people who understand what's at stake. And what is at stake? Daewon asked, though he already knew the answer. Everything, Hana said. Our future, our freedom, our very identity as humans. Tae-Yang stood. So what do we do? Fight them? We can't win against the entire coalition. No, Hana said. We can't fight them, not yet. But there's something else we can do. Something they'll never expect. She pulled up one final document. It was marked with Earth's seal and stamped with the highest classification level. We leave, she said simply. Daewon stared at her. Leave the coalition? Leave everything, Hana confirmed. Every human world, every citizen, every ship. We withdraw completely. We take our people and our technology, and we disappear into unexplored space. We build our own civilization, free from their restrictions. Is that even possible? Dr. Yuna asked. Earth has been preparing for this possibility for 50 years, Hana said. We have hidden shipyards, secret research stations, classified technology that the coalition doesn't know exists. We've been planning our freedom while pretending to be content in our cage. Daewon felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Real hope. When do we start? He asked. We already have, Hana said. The orders went out this morning. Within 30 days, every human will leave coalition space. We're going home, and then we're going beyond. Daewon looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there was freedom. Somewhere out there was humanity's true destiny. The golden cage was about to open, and the galaxy had no idea what it had been keeping locked inside. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Humanity was leaving the coalition. Admiral Ji-Ho stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dawn, and watched as the galaxy panicked. His ship was one of many that the coalition had never known existed. For 50 years, humans had been building in secret, preparing for the day when freedom became more important than comfort. Admiral, we're receiving thousands of messages from coalition worlds, his communications officer reported. Some are asking us to reconsider. Others are threatening economic sanctions. Ignore them all, Ji-Ho said calmly. We're done explaining ourselves. Across human space, the evacuation had begun. Every human colony within coalition territory was being dismantled. Every embassy was closing, every business was shutting down, and every human citizen was packing their belongings and heading home. Director Su-Min watched from her secret research station as transport ships arrived to collect the scientists and their work. Her station existed in a hidden asteroid field far from any coalition patrols. Here, humanity had been developing technology that would make the galaxy's jaw drop. How long until we can move the lab? She asked her assistant. 6 hours. We're downloading the final research data now. Su-Min smiled. The coalition thought they knew what humans were capable of. They had no idea. While the aliens had been busy maintaining their comfortable peace, humans had been innovating at a pace that would terrify them. New faster-than-light drives that didn't need coalition navigation beacons. Artificial intelligence systems that could think and create in ways no other species had achieved. Energy weapons that made coalition military technology look like children's toys. And ships, beautiful deadly ships, waiting in hidden shipyards throughout unexplored space. Pilot Kyung sat in her fighter cockpit, running final checks on her systems. She was young, barely 25, but she had been training for this her entire life. Her parents had told her stories about the old days before humanity joined the coalition, when humans could dream without limits. "All fighters report ready," she said over the squadron channel. "Good," her commander replied. "Remember, we're just an escort today. But stay alert. Some coalition species might try to stop the evacuation." Kyung's hands tightened on the controls. Let them try, she thought. They would learn what happened when you backed humans into a corner and then acted surprised when they found a way out. On Earth, President Yoon-ji addressed the planet. Billions watched as their leader explained what was happening and why. "My fellow humans," she began, "today we take the first step toward true freedom. For 200 years, we have lived under the coalition's rules. We have been grateful for the peace and prosperity they brought us. But we have also been prisoners, restricted and controlled because other species feared what we might become." She paused, letting her words sink in. "We are leaving not out of hatred, but out of necessity. We cannot grow in a cage, no matter how gilded. We cannot thrive when every achievement is met with suspicion. We cannot be truly human when others constantly try to make us less than we are." Around the galaxy, coalition leaders watched the broadcast with growing concern. Some felt guilt. Others felt anger. All felt fear. "Where will you go?" one alien ambassador asked Ambassador Hana during a final meeting. "Somewhere you'll never find us," Hana replied. "Somewhere we can build our own future." "You're making a mistake," the ambassador insisted. "The galaxy is dangerous. There are hostile species beyond our borders. You'll need our protection." Hana smiled sadly. "We appreciate your concern. But humans have survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and the void of space itself. We'll manage." The ambassador's expression darkened. "The council will not forget this insult." "It's not an insult," Hana said. "It's a divorce. Sometimes relationships don't work out. We wish the coalition well, but we're done being the species you're afraid of." She stood and walked toward the door, then paused. "Tell your council something for me. Tell them that they had a chance to treat us as equals. They chose to treat us as threats. Now they'll see what humans can really do when we're free." The evacuation continued for 30 days. Human cargo ships, larger than anything the coalition had seen, appeared from nowhere to collect people and equipment. Entire colonies were packed up and moved. Hospitals, schools, factories, even parks were carefully dismantled and loaded onto massive transports. Commander Bin led the reconnaissance teams, scouting the routes humanity would take into unexplored space. His small, fast ship jumped from system to system, mapping safe paths and identifying potential new homes. "We've found 12 habitable worlds so far," he reported to Admiral Ji-ho. "All of them beyond coalition space, all of them perfect for colonization." "Excellent," Ji-ho replied. "Mark them on the secret charts. We'll need them." The coalition tried everything to make humans stay. They offered better trade deals. They promised seats on the High Council. They even offered to loosen some restrictions. But humanity's answer never changed. No. "They don't understand," Tae Yang said as he supervised the evacuation of a shipyard. "They think we're children throwing a tantrum. They don't realize we're dead serious." Dr. Yuna packed her research. centuries of xenobiology knowledge collected during her time in Coalition space. Let them underestimate us. It'll make what comes next even more satisfying. The final day arrived. The last human ship prepared to leave Coalition space. Captain Day Wan stood on the bridge of the silent horizon, now part of a fleet of thousands. All human vessels have cleared Coalition territory, his officer reported. We're the last ones. Day Wan looked at the Coalition's capital world one last time. Its lights glittered against the darkness, beautiful and cold. He thought about the friends he'd made there, the good times and the frustrations. Then he thought about freedom, about the unexplored galaxy waiting for humanity, about what his species could accomplish without chains. Set course for the rendezvous point, he ordered. Take us home. The silent horizon turned away from Coalition space. Its engines flared to life, burning brighter than they ever had before. Around it, the human fleet did the same. Director Su Min broadcast a final message to the Coalition on all frequencies. It was simple and direct. To the Galactic Coalition, humanity thanks you for 200 years of peace. We have learned much from you. But now we must learn what we can become on our own. Do not follow us. Do not search for us. We are leaving your sphere of influence permanently. Live well, and remember us not as the species you feared, but as the friends you could have trusted. The message ended. The human fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, and just like that, humanity disappeared from Coalition space. Some Coalition species celebrated, others mourned. Most simply stood in shock, unable to believe that humans had actually done it. They had walked away from the most powerful alliance in the galaxy as casually as someone leaving a bad party. In the council chambers, alarms began to ring. Military analysts started calculating what this meant. Economic experts predicted chaos. And deep in classified meeting rooms, the species that had feared humanity's potential realized they had just made the worst mistake possible. They had let humans go free. And somewhere in unexplored space, Admiral Jiho smiled as his hidden fleet rendezvoused with the evacuees. Hundreds of warships that the Coalition never knew existed, built with technology the aliens couldn't imagine, crewed by humans eager to show the galaxy what they could really do. "Welcome to freedom," he said to the arriving transports. "Now let's build something amazing." 6 months had passed since humanity left Coalition space, and the galaxy was starting to realize what a mistake had been made. Warlord Threx of the Vraxian Empire studied the reports with growing interest. His species had been at war with the Coalition for decades, a brutal stalemate that neither side could break. But now, intelligence reports showed something interesting. Humans, those weak creatures the Coalition had kept on a leash, were spreading into unexplored space, and they seemed vulnerable. "How many worlds have they colonized?" Threx asked his military advisor. 23 that we've detected, small populations mostly, mining operations, research stations, agricultural settlements." Threx clicked his mandibles together, a Vraxian sign of pleasure. "And their military presence?" "Minimal. We've only detected a few patrol ships, nothing that could stand against our fleet." "Perfect," Threx said. "The Coalition protected them for 2 centuries. Now they're alone and weak. We'll crush them quickly, take their resources, and use their territory as a staging ground for our next assault on Coalition space." His advisor hesitated. "My lord, there are some concerning reports. The Coalition warned us not to underestimate humans." "The Coalition fears its own shadow," Threx snarled. "Humans are small, soft creatures who relied on others for protection. Without the Coalition, they're nothing. Prepare the fleet. We attack their mining outpost at Sector 793. Commander Bin was overseeing the mining operation when the alert came through. His small reconnaissance ship had been upgraded with new sensors, part of humanity's secret technology, and they detected the Vraxian fleet long before the aliens expected. 30 warships incoming," his sensor officer reported. "Vraxian Empire signatures. They'll be here in 20 minutes. Bin smiled coldly. "Contact the Sentinel. Tell them we have customers." The mining station began emergency evacuation procedures. Workers loaded into transport ships and headed for safety, but Bin stayed behind, watching and waiting. The Vraxian fleet arrived in formation, weapons charged, ready for an easy victory. Threx watched through his command screen as his ships surrounded the human mining station. "Demand their surrender," he ordered. The communication went out. Bin received it and laughed. "Tell them to go to hell." "The human refuses to surrender," the communications officer reported. "Then destroy the station," Threx commanded. "Show them what happens when they defy the Vraxian Empire." 30 warships opened fire on the mining station. Weapons that could crack planets poured destruction onto the small facility. When the barrage ended, nothing remained but debris. "Scan for survivors," Threx ordered. "None detected, my lord." "The station is completely destroyed." Threx leaned back, satisfied. "Good. Mark this territory as conquered. We'll move on to the next human settlement and—" The alarms screamed. "Contact! New vessel emerging from faster than light!" the sensor officer shouted. "It's massive!" On the screen, a human warship appeared. It was unlike anything the Vraxians had seen before. Sleek, elegant, and radiating power. Its hull was dark, almost invisible against space, but energy readings showed it was armed beyond belief. "One ship?" Threx laughed. "They send one ship against 30? Open fire!" The Vraxian fleet unleashed everything they had. Energy weapons, missiles, kinetic rounds, all of it focused on the single human vessel. The human ship didn't even slow down. Its defensive shields absorbed the attack effortlessly. Then it returned fire. What happened next would be studied by military academies for generations. The human ship moved like nothing the Vraxians had ever encountered. It didn't just dodge attacks. It seemed to predict where the Vraxians would shoot before they did. Its weapons struck with surgical precision. One shot, one kill. No wasted ammunition, no missed targets. In the first minute, 5 Vraxian warships exploded. "Impossible!" Threx screamed. "All ships, focus fire! Bring it down!" The Vraxian fleet swarmed the human vessel like angry insects, but the human ship danced between them, its movements graceful and deadly. It shot while turning, fired while accelerating, and seemed to be everywhere at once. Another 6 ships died in the second minute. Admiral Jiho watched from the command chair of the Sentinel with calm satisfaction. His ship was one of humanity's newest designs, built with technology the Coalition had never seen and the Vraxians couldn't comprehend. "Status?" he asked. "Shields at 98%. All weapon systems optimal. Enemy fleet breaking formation." "Good. Let's finish this." The Sentinel accelerated straight into the center of the Vraxian fleet. At point-blank range, it unleashed its full arsenal. Energy beams that could cut through Vraxian armor like paper, missiles that could track and destroy multiple targets simultaneously, and kinetic rounds fired with such precision that they penetrated vital systems with every shot. The Vraxian warships tried to retreat, but the Sentinel was faster. It hunted them down one by one, methodically destroying each vessel. Threx watched in horror as his fleet died. "Retreat! All ships retreat!" But it was too late. The last Vraxian warship exploded in a ball of fire. The battle had lasted 17 minutes, 30 Vraxian warships destroyed, 0 human casualties. The Sentinel hung in space, surrounded by debris, its hull unmarked. Jiho broadcast a message on all frequencies. He wanted everyone to hear it, especially the Coalition. "This is Admiral Jiho of the Human Federation. To the Vraxian Empire, you attacked our citizens unprovoked. You murdered our people. This is your only warning. Leave human space immediately or face total annihilation. We are not the Coalition. We do not negotiate with murderers." The message reached Vraxian space within hours. Threx, barely controlling his rage, assembled his full military council. "One ship did this?" a general asked in disbelief. "One ship," Threx confirmed. "But they cannot have many such vessels. Humans are few in number, spread across multiple worlds. We will gather our entire armada and crush them completely." Another advisor spoke up. "My lord, perhaps we should reconsider. If one human ship can destroy 30 of ours—" "Silence!" Threx roared. "I will not be humiliated by weak aliens who hide behind superior technology. We are Vraxians. We are warriors. We will show these humans what real war looks like." He slammed his fist on the table. "Mobilize everything. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon. We will burn their worlds to ash and enslave their survivors. The entire galaxy will know that the Vraxian Empire does not accept defeat." The order went out. The Vraxian armada began to assemble. Thousands of ships, the largest military force they had ever gathered. Threx intended to end humanity before it could become a real threat. Chancellor Mora of the Coalition watched the intelligence reports with growing dread. She had been one of the few council members who opposed restricting humanity. She had warned that treating them as threats would create the very danger the council feared. "The Vraxians are committing their full military might against humanity," an analyst reported. "Over 3,000 warships. They plan to strike at human colony worlds simultaneously." "And the humans?" Mora asked. "We've detected significant fleet movements. Admiral Jiho is mobilizing. But Chancellor, the numbers don't make sense. We count at least 500 human warships, but that's impossible." "Where did they get them?" Mora smiled sadly. "They built them while we weren't watching. While we congratulated ourselves on keeping them safe and controlled, they prepared for freedom. And now the Vraxians will pay the price for our arrogance." "Should we intervene?" "No," Mora said firmly. "Humanity made their choice to leave. This is their fight. But send observers. The galaxy needs to see what happens when you underestimate humans." In human space, Admiral Jiho gathered his fleet commanders. On the screens around him appeared the faces of other admirals, generals, and commanders. All of them human. All of them ready. "The Vraxians want war," Jiho said simply. "They think we're easy prey. They think superior numbers will guarantee victory. They think we're the same species that hid behind the Coalition for 200 years. He paused, looking at each face. "Let's show them what humans can do when we're unchained. Let's show them why the Coalition feared us. And let's make sure the entire galaxy is watching when we do it." The commanders smiled. Across human space, fleets began to move. Ships that had been hidden for decades emerged from secret shipyards. Technology that would change warfare forever powered up and prepared for battle. Pilot Kyung checked her fighter one last time. Around her, hundreds of other pilots did the same. They were young, eager, and ready to prove themselves. "Remember," her squadron leader said over the comm, "we're not fighting for revenge. We're fighting so every species in this galaxy knows that humanity will never be caged again." The fleets jumped to faster-than-light speed. The Vraxian armada was coming, and humanity was ready to teach the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. The first major battle happened at a human colony world called New Haven. General He Wan stood in the command center, watching as Vraxian ships appeared in orbit. The aliens came expecting frightened colonists. They found a prepared military force instead. "Enemy fleet detected, 200 ships," a tactical officer reported. "Let them land their ground forces," He Wan ordered calmly. "We need to show them what human soldiers can do." Threx watched from his flagship as Vraxian dropships descended toward New Haven. He expected quick victory. The planet's population was small, mostly farmers and researchers. His warriors would sweep through them in hours. The dropships landed. 10,000 Vraxian soldiers emerged, heavily armed and ready for conquest. They found empty streets and silent buildings. Then the shooting started. Vraxian warriors were tough and strong, bred for combat over thousands of years. But humans had something the Vraxians didn't understand: creativity. The colonists didn't fight fair. They used guerrilla tactics, hit-and-run attacks, traps, and ambushes. A Vraxian squad entered a building, only to have it collapse on them. Another squad chased human soldiers into a tunnel system, where hidden explosives turned their advance into a massacre. Snipers picked off officers from impossible distances. Drones bombed positions with precision that seemed impossible. "What's happening down there?" Threx demanded. "Why aren't we advancing?" "The humans are everywhere and nowhere," his ground commander reported. "We can't pin them down. They attack and disappear. They know every street, every building. It's like fighting ghosts." Scout Junseo moved through the colony's underground tunnels, leading a small team of soldiers. They had been preparing for invasion ever since leaving Coalition space. Every colony had hidden defenses, secret passages, and weapons caches. "Target spotted. 3 Vraxian officers planning their next move," Junseo whispered into his comm. "Take them," Haiwan ordered. Junseo's team emerged from a tunnel entrance behind the Vraxian officers. Silenced weapons fired. The aliens dropped before they could raise an alarm. The humans disappeared back underground before anyone noticed. This pattern repeated across the colony. Vraxian forces grew frustrated, angry, and sloppy. They started making mistakes, and humans punished every mistake brutally. In orbit, the space battle began. Admiral Jiho's fleet engaged the Vraxian warships with tactics that seemed impossible. Human ships worked in perfect coordination, each vessel knowing exactly where the others would be and what they would do. Dr. Young watched from a tactical command ship, monitoring the artificial intelligence systems that helped coordinate human forces. These AI were far beyond anything the Coalition or Vraxians possessed. They didn't just calculate probabilities, they understood strategy, predicted enemy behavior, and adapted in real time. "The Vraxians are regrouping for a concentrated assault," Young reported. "I see it," Jiho responded. "Prepare countermeasure pattern 7. The Vraxian ships formed a massive wedge formation, intending to break through human lines by sheer force. They charged forward, weapons blazing. The human fleet scattered, seeming to retreat in disorder. The Vraxians pursued, thinking they had won. Then human ships appeared behind them, having used the Vraxian formation against them. Caught between 2 human forces, the Vraxian fleet suffered devastating losses. "They're using our own tactics against us!" a Vraxian admiral screamed. "How are they doing this?" The answer was simple. Humans had studied war for their entire history. They understood strategy, deception, and adaptation in ways the Vraxians, who relied on brute force, never could. Pilot Kyung led her fighter squadron through the chaos of battle. Her craft moved with impossible grace, dodging enemy fire while delivering precise attacks. She destroyed 3 Vraxian fighters in quick succession, her movements more art than violence. "Target the command ship's communication array," her squadron leader ordered. Kyung smiled and accelerated toward the massive Vraxian flagship. Point defense weapons tried to stop her, but she was too fast, too skilled. Her missiles struck true, destroying the communication system. The Vraxian fleet suddenly went silent, unable to coordinate. And that's when the human fleet struck with full force. On the ground, General Haiwan watched the Vraxian forces beginning to panic. Cut off from orbital support and bleeding from 1,000 small wounds, the invaders were breaking. "Time to end this," she said. "All units, assault pattern Alpha." From every direction, human forces emerged. Not just soldiers, but colonists too. Farmers with hunting rifles. Scientists with improvised weapons, even children throwing rocks and homemade explosives. The entire colony rose up as one. The Vraxians, bred for honor combat and straightforward warfare, couldn't handle it. They tried to retreat to their dropships, only to find them sabotaged. They tried to dig in, only to be flanked from unexpected directions. They tried to surrender, And that's when they learned something important about humans. "Hold your fire," Haywan ordered as Vraxian soldiers threw down their weapons. "Accept their surrender." A young officer looked at her in confusion. "General, they killed our people." "And they'll face justice for that," Haywan replied. "But we're not murderers. We're soldiers. There's a difference." The Vraxian prisoners were taken alive, treated for their wounds, and given food and water. They expected torture or execution. Instead, they received mercy. It confused them more than anything else that had happened. Across multiple fronts, the same pattern repeated. Human forces defeated Vraxian attackers through superior tactics, then showed mercy to those who surrendered. Captured enemy soldiers found themselves in clean prisons, fed regularly, and treated according to rules of war that Vraxians didn't even know existed. But mercy didn't mean weakness. When Vraxian forces refused to surrender and continued fighting, humans crushed them without hesitation. A fortress world that the Vraxians claimed was impregnable fell in 72 hours after General Haywan led a daring assault that combined orbital bombardment, special forces infiltration, and psychological warfare. The galaxy watched in amazement. Coalition observers sent detailed reports back to their governments. Humanity wasn't just winning, they were redefining what victory meant. Chancellor Mora read the reports with mixed feelings. Pride that she had been right about humanity's potential. Shame that the coalition had tried to suppress it. And fear about what this meant for the future. "They're not the same species that joined us 200 years ago," an analyst said. "Or rather, they are, but without our restrictions holding them back." "No," Mora corrected. "They're exactly who they always were. We just never let them show it." In Vraxian space, Warlord Threx watched his empire crumble. 3,000 ships had attacked human space. Less than 1,000 remained. And those survivors brought tales of human capabilities that seemed impossible. "They're using weapons we've never seen," a defeated admiral reported. "Tactics that seem to predict our every move. And they fight with a coordination that suggests they share a single mind." "What about their numbers?" Threx demanded. "Surely they must be running out of ships, soldiers, ammunition?" The admiral shook his head. "My lord, we've destroyed hundreds of their vessels, but more keep appearing. They have production capabilities that dwarf our own, and their technology improves with every battle. It's like they learn from each engagement and immediately adapt." Threx felt true fear for the first time in his life. "How is this possible? They're such a young species." An intelligence officer spoke up quietly. "Because they've been preparing for this their entire history. While the coalition kept them peaceful, they never forgot how to war. And now, without restrictions, they're showing us what 200 years of suppressed innovation looks like when finally unleashed." The final blow came when human forces didn't just defend their own territory. They went on the offensive. Human fleets jumped deep into Vraxian space, not to conquer, but to liberate. They contacted Vraxian colony worlds that had suffered under the Empire's tyranny and offered them freedom. Ambassador Seong led the diplomatic efforts. She spoke to populations that had never known anything but military rule and offered them a choice. "Join us," she said in broadcasts that reached billions. "We don't want your territory or your resources. We want allies, partners, friends. The Vraxian Empire conquered you. We're offering you liberation, no strings attached, just freedom." Dozens of colony worlds rebelled against the Empire, not because humans forced them to, but because they wanted to. The Vraxian military found itself fighting on multiple fronts, against enemies within and without. Threx's flagship was surrounded by human vessels. Admiral Ji-Ho had tracked him across 3 star systems, methodically destroying his escort fleet. Now the warlord faced a choice he never thought possible. "Surrender or die," Ji-Ho's message was simple. You started this war. We're ending it. But we'll give you something you never gave our colonists. A choice. Threx looked at his officers. They were defeated, exhausted, and afraid. He had led them to disaster through arrogance and underestimation. For the first time in Vraxian history, a warlord chose surrender over death. "I yield," Threx said, the words like poison in his mouth. Human Marines boarded his ship. They were professional, efficient, and surprisingly respectful. Threx expected humiliation. Instead, he was treated like a defeated commander, not a criminal. "Why?" he asked the Marine captain escorting him. "Why what?" the human replied. "Why show mercy? We attacked you, killed your people, invaded your worlds." The Marine looked at him with eyes that had seen too much combat. "Because we're better than you. Because mercy is strength, not weakness. And because someday maybe your people will understand that there's a better way to live than constant war." Threx had no answer to that. The war lasted 3 months. The Vraxian Empire, a power that had fought the Coalition to a standstill for decades, was broken by humanity. Not destroyed, not annihilated, but defeated so thoroughly that they would never threaten anyone again. And the galaxy watched, finally understanding what the Coalition had been so afraid of. Humans weren't dangerous because they were violent or aggressive. They were dangerous because they were good at everything they tried. And when they tried war, they mastered it completely. The war ended on a Tuesday. President Yoon-ji stood before the cameras, addressing not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. Behind her, through the window of her office, Earth gleamed peacefully in the distance. 3 months ago, the Vraxian Empire attacked our colonies without provocation, she began. They believed we were weak. They were wrong. Today, Warlord Threx has surrendered unconditionally. The war is over. She paused, letting the weight of those words settle. But we did not fight this war for conquest or revenge. We fought for our right to exist freely, without fear. Now we offer the same right to others. Across former Vraxian territory, the announcement was received with shock and hope. Human forces had occupied dozens of worlds, but instead of enslaving the populations or stealing resources, they were offering something nobody expected: independence. Ambassador Xiong worked tirelessly, meeting with leaders from liberated colonies. Each meeting followed the same pattern. The local leaders came expecting demands, taxes, or subjugation. Instead, they received a simple proposal. "You're free now," Xiong told a gathering of former Vraxian colony governors. "Truly free. You can govern yourselves, choose your own path, build your own future. We ask only one thing in return: peace." "That's all?" one governor asked suspiciously. "No tribute? No military bases? No resource extraction?" "That's all," Xiong confirmed. "Though we would like to offer you membership in something new. We're calling it the Free Worlds Compact. It's not like the Coalition with its endless rules and restrictions. It's a voluntary alliance based on mutual respect and cooperation." She pulled up a holographic display showing the proposed structure. Unlike the Coalition's complex bureaucracy with its species hierarchies and voting blocks, the compact was simple. Each member world got one vote. Each world kept complete sovereignty. Members could trade, share technology, and cooperate on defense, but nobody could tell anyone else how to live. "What's the catch?" another governor asked. "There is no catch," Xiong replied. "We learned the hard way what happens when big organizations try to control their members for their own good. We won't make that mistake. Join us or don't. Either way, you're free." The governors looked at each other in disbelief. Freedom without strings attached was something they had never experienced. Slowly, cautiously, they began to believe it was real. Back in Coalition space, emergency sessions were being held at every level of government. Chancellor Mora stood before the full council, delivering a report that made many members uncomfortable. The Vraxian Empire, a military power that fought us to a standstill for 40 years, was defeated by humanity in 3 months, she said bluntly. Their fleet is destroyed. Their warlord is captured. Their territory is now either independent or allied with humans through this new Free Worlds Compact. Humans are becoming a threat, one council member declared. We must take action before they grow too powerful. Mora laughed bitterly. Take action. We already tried that. We restricted them, limited them, and controlled them for 2 centuries. And all we did was make them plan their escape more carefully. They're already too powerful. The question now is what we do about it. Another council member spoke up. We could blockade their space, prevent them from expanding further. With what fleet? Mora asked. The humans have more advanced ships than we do, technology we never imagined. If we attack, we'll suffer the same fate as the Vraxians. The room fell silent. The unthinkable had happened. The species they had kept on a leash had slipped free and become stronger than them. So what do we do? Someone finally asked. We adapt, Mora said firmly. We reform. We become what we should have been all along, a true alliance of equals, not a protective hierarchy that treats members like children. She pulled up data showing coalition members who were quietly asking about joining the Free Worlds Compact instead. Young species, innovative cultures, anyone who felt stifled by coalition rules. The numbers were small now, but growing. We're losing members because humans are offering what we failed to provide: freedom with security, cooperation without control, advancement without fear. If we don't change, the coalition will collapse within a generation. Captain Day Wan commanded the Silent Horizon as it patrolled the border between human space and coalition territory. His mission was simple: ensure peaceful relations while making sure everyone understood that humanity would defend itself if necessary. A coalition cruiser approached his position. Day Wan recognized the ship's captain, an alien he had worked with during his coalition days. Captain Day Wan, the alien sent through tight beam communication. Permission to speak privately? Granted, Day Wan replied. The alien's face appeared on screen, looking tired and old. I wanted to apologize. I was one of the officers who reported on your activities when you were in coalition space. I helped keep tabs on human expansion and innovation. I thought I was protecting the galaxy. And now? Day Wan asked. Now I see I was just maintaining a prison. Your people did the right thing by leaving. I wish we had the courage to let you go peacefully instead of making you plan an escape. Day Wan smiled sadly. We don't hold grudges. You were following orders, doing what you thought was right. The coalition gave us 200 years of peace. We learned a lot during that time. We're grateful for that, even if we couldn't stay. What happens now? The alien asked. Now we build our own future, and anyone who wants to join us is welcome. But we'll never force anyone, and we'll never let anyone force us. That's the difference between the Compact and the Coalition. Across human space, construction was happening at an incredible pace. New colonies were being established on the planets Commander Bin had scouted. Orbital stations were being built for trade and research. Universities were opening to teach the next generation. And always, always, there was exploration. Captain Hyorin commanded the Discovery, the first joint human-alien exploration vessel. Her crew included humans, former Vraxians, and several species from liberated colonies. Together they were mapping unexplored sectors and making first contact with new civilizations. Detecting signals from the next system, her sensor officer reported. The officer was a young Vraxian named Crix, who had joined the human fleet after his homeworld voted for independence. What kind of signals? Hyorin asked. Artificial, definitely technological, but the patterns are unlike anything in our databases. A new species, Dr. Yuna said excitedly. She had joined the exploration mission to study alien life in regions the Coalition had never reached. How should we approach? Carefully, Hyorin decided. Open channels on all frequencies. Let them know we come in peace. The Discovery sent out greetings in every language they knew. Hours passed. Then a response came back, in a language nobody recognized, but with a tone that seemed cautiously welcoming. First contact, the beginning of a new friendship, or at least the possibility of one. This was what humanity had left the Coalition to find, the freedom to explore, to discover, to meet new people without having to follow someone else's rules about how to do it. 5 years had passed since humanity walked away from the Coalition. The Free Worlds Compact now included over 100 member worlds. Some were former Vraxian colonies grateful for liberation. Others were species who had left the Coalition seeking the same freedom humanity found. And a few were entirely new civilizations that humanity had discovered and befriended. The Coalition still existed, but it had changed. Chancellor Mora had led reforms that reduced restrictions, increased member autonomy, and eliminated the hierarchical thinking that had caused so many problems. Some Coalition members left to join the Compact. Others stayed but developed friendlier relations with humanity. A few, the most conservative and fearful, remained hostile but lacked the power to act on their feelings. President Yunji stood in the same office where she had announced humanity's departure 5 years ago. Now she was recording a different kind of message. To the galaxy, she began, humanity has learned much in our years of freedom. We fought a war we didn't want but won't apologize for. We've built an alliance based on respect rather than fear. We've explored new worlds and made new friends. And through it all, we've remained true to what makes us human. Our creativity, our adaptability, our stubborn refusal to be caged. She smiled. Some of you feared what we would become without the Coalition's control. We've shown you, we're not conquerors or tyrants. We're explorers, builders and friends to those who treat us fairly. We're also protectors of our own and defenders of the weak. We're everything we always were. Just finally free to show it. The message ended, but the story didn't. Somewhere in unexplored space, human ships were making discoveries that would change everything again. Ancient ruins suggesting civilizations older than anyone imagined. Phenomena that challenged understanding of physics. Mysteries waiting to be solved by minds that refused to accept limits. Admiral Ji Ho, now older and grayer but still commanding the fleet, received a report from a deep space probe. What it had found made his eyes widen. "Get me President Yunji," he ordered. "She needs to see this immediately." On Earth, in the office of humanity's leader, plans were already being made for the next great adventure. Because that's what humans did. They didn't sit still. They didn't accept comfortable cages. They pushed forward, always forward, exploring and building and dreaming of what came next. The Coalition had feared humanity's potential. The Vraxians had underestimated it. The Free Worlds Compact embraced it. And somewhere in the vast unexplored galaxy, new challenges waited. But humanity was ready. They always were, because peace had been nice while it lasted. But freedom was better, and the future belonged to those brave enough to reach for it with both hands. The stars were calling, and humanity, finally unchained, was answering with joy.